Hello, I'm Todd Anderson, and this is my deck tech with Affinity in Modern. Now, me and Affinity go a long way back.
Affinity and I
go a long way back. I don't know. I was going to tell the story about how I played this at Pro Tour Austin, I think in 2008 or 2009 or something. One of those years. And I put Ornithopter in a deck, and I died. I went like 0-4 and dropped, and I never wanted to play Affinity ever again.
You only went 0-4? See, in that tournament, I went 0-5.
Yeah, it's very similar records, me and Brad. Brad and I. Excuse me.
I was going to get you so hard there.
Yeah, so I stopped before. But let's go and take a look at the deck, and we'll talk a little bit more about the actual deck itself. So, Affinity has gone through a lot of iterations over the years. People have found new artifacts.
No. It has not went through a lot of iterations. It's went through a lot of bannings. let's just say that.
All right, fine. Like every couple of years, they print some artifact that's pretty good in some format, and in some set, and it ends up being pretty good in an Affinity deck. As you can see, all these cards span over the course of like 10 years, where we have Master of Ethereum from Shards of Alara block, Edge Champion, Signal Pest, Mimknight, and Vault Scourge, all coming from Scars of Mirrodin block, and Galvanic Blast as well. And then we have the old staples, Ornithopter from original Mirrodin, as well as multiple core set printings. Steel Overseer from a random core set printing when Affinity was not even a deck. I think this was around the same time as Scars of Mirrodin block in Standard. Mox Opal, as you can see from Scars of Mirrodin block. But basically, the goal of the deck is to cast a bunch of creatures really quickly and then play this card here called Cranial Plating. Now, this card, I think, should have been banned along with all the other cards that they banned, like Skull Clamp, the Artifact Lands, etc. But Cranial Plating is just this huge beating of a card that turns any of your threats into a gigantic powerhouse. Now, the downside of playing Affinity is that almost all of your relevant cards are artifacts, and artifacts are one of the easiest things to kill in Eternal type formats where your opponent has access to things like Ancient Grudge, Vandal Blast, various removal spells. Like Brad has two Ancient Grudges that he's bringing, But the cool thing about Affinity is that the deck is so powerful that a lot of times it can fight through a 2-for-1 type spell with Ancient Grudge and live to tail the tail. My favorite newer inclusion into the archetype, as opposed to like all the cards that have been here forever, is Inkmoth Nexus. Was when it was printed and put into the Affinity deck set. The first Modern Pro Tour was at PT Philadelphia, I believe. Inkmoth Nexus just changed the game. With Cranial Plating, it turns some hits into one-hit kills, but it doesn't really work with any other card in the deck besides Cranial Plating. I mean, you can sometimes combo kill with Arcbound Ravager, but as far as the rest of the deck goes, they're trying to kill normal damage as opposed to Tom Ross's blue-green Infect decks, which are trying to kill with Infect damage. This is just a weird standalone threat.
The thing about this card, though, that happens, awesome. What happens a lot is you'll get a huge hit of damage in, but the great thing about Affinity is that it doesn't only get a turn ahead of some opponents, it sometimes gets 2 turns ahead of them. And like they have to find like 3 turns to deal with what's already on the board. And when that happens, then they'll deal with the one thing that's dealing a ton of damage. Maybe that's a Master of Ethereum, maybe that's a Steel Overseer. But the rest of your deck is nickel and diming enough to where you're attacking with this Inkmoth, maybe it's 1 power, maybe it's 2. But they're ignoring it for multiple turns. But by the time that they deal with all the other real damage, this is getting close to lethal. So a second Inkmoth off the top becomes a way to actually just poison them out. Yeah, and when you start combining that with things like Signal Pest or Steel Overseer, you can just start doing an absurd amount of poison damage with just 1 copy of Inkmoth Nexus. The deck is super fast. As you can see, we have Mox Opal, Mimknight, Ornithopter, all these cheaper free cards along with Springleaf Drum to generate a lot of mana really quickly, so that you're able to. What are you doing? I'm just going to show them, before we go to the sideboard, what some of the most powerful draws this deck can provide. I mean, not a Springleaf Drum. Let's do that.
Okay.
So you can get some of the most busted draws imaginable.
I mean, I could pull your deck out and pull like 2 Tectonic Edges, I'm saying that 2 Cryptic Command.
This deck is very powerful, but it's an aggressive mulligan deck. Like it can win with so few resources.
Yeah.
So like you get a lot of draws that look just like this though.
We'll see.
Well, not you.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is the main deck for Affinity / Robot / whatever they want to call it now. Yeah. Let's get to the sideboard, and then I'm gonna beat the crap out of Brad.
He said crap.
I did say crap. All right, so kind of what Brad said at the end of his deck tech, these are cards, they deal with certain things in Modern, except I'm going to go a little bit more in depth into them instead of just saying this, or whatever. But we got 2 Rule of Laws to help out against Storm, Grafdigger's Cage to help out against Birthing Pod, as well as graveyard-based decks, Singleton Blood Moon that, honestly, hits decks that have non-basic
Tron.
Yeah, it's very good against Urzatron. Dismember, like Brad said in his deck, there's one in his board as well as one in mine. Very good against decks with, you know, like the Splinter Twin combo because they're not usually pressuring your life total. This card's actually a little bit worse against the Tarmogoyf versions because they are able to pressure your life total a little more easily. But this card really shines against straight blue-red Splinter Twin.
We have wasted
Jamie
3
Wakefield.
minutes of their life talking both
2 Spells Guides against Splinter Twin, a Whip Flare against Weenie decks, Spell Pierce against combo decks, 2 Thoughtseize against combo control decks, and 3 Ancient Grudge for the mirror.
You forgot.
All right, so back to me. This list was originally played by Mike Sigrist at Grand Prix Richmond. He was the only mage in that tournament who defeated me. He beat me twice during the Swiss, which can only happen when they have to split the tournament up. Yeah, Brad's really happy about that.
It was so funny. It was really funny.
Was it?
When Todd goes out, he's like, I lost to the guy
that I lost to yesterday.
And I was like, what?
Yeah. But he played really well. I played against Affinity like 3 or 4 other times in that tournament, and Mike was the only person I lost to, and he beat me twice. So I very much respect his list, and hopefully I'm going to beat the crap out of Brad.
He's not.